In movies, you rarely ever see a bad ending. The last thing you would want to see is your moviegoer patrons go home with a bad feeling. You want them to leave fulfilled, with a warm, gooey feeling inside, so that they might come back the next week. Unfortunately, real life is never like this. Huge catastrophes happen all the time to very good people and often without any reason at all. People in Asia get struck by tsunamis. People in the US get hit by tornadoes. But there's one natural disaster that is about to hit us all. And this one truly is a huge disaster for the human race. I'm of course talking about Velma, Season 2. Oh dear God! The humanity! No! Yes, it's true. Rumors are floating around that HBO Max is already working on season 2 of Velma, one of the most unanimously hated shows in human history. They perceived the launch of the very first 2 episodes as a huge success. They even went as far as stating that Velma was the biggest premiere day for an HBO Max original animated series. Now, in my eyes, this is such a cringe way to frame the reality of the matter. They say they had the best numbers for an original HBO Max animated show. What they don't tell you is that Velma barely has any competition at all. There's only one other HBO Max original animation series. They also have some cartoons for kids, but this is the only other one for adults. And this is a show called 10-Year-Old Tom, which has some pretty good ratings. It has an 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and it has a 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Though the sample size on Rotten Tomatoes is quite small, only 6 people voted, so that doesn't really say much. On IMDb it's a bit better, 1500 people voted over there, so that's slightly better. So yeah, even though this show did get good ratings, there weren't a lot of ratings, and there were also not a lot of people watching this show. That's because HBO Max isn't really well known for its animation series. But Velma did get a lot of attention, and it got a lot of attention because people hated it. People were actually hate watching the show Velma. They just wanted to see how terrible of a show it was. They knew it was gonna be a train wreck, and they were just interested to see the disaster. And HBO Max is actually celebrating this. They are such idiots. It's like you're building a rocket to go to Mars, right? And at launch, it just explodes on the launch pad. And then that explosion becomes a viral clip on social media, and then the executives are like, well, at least people are talking about it. We're famous now. Yeah! The project was a huge success. Woo! This is such a stupid mentality. That bad publicity is good publicity. That people talking shit about your work is just as valuable as them praising your work, because it's only the numbers that matter and only the profits are important. But that is such a short-sighted perspective, man. I mean, we've all seen what happened to the Liver King. You know, he lied about how he attained his fitness levels. He said that he achieved it all naturally by following his own self-proclaimed fitness program, which he was selling to a ton of people and earning millions of dollars from it. You know, he was very famous until emails leaked which revealed that he was on steroids the entire time. Now he is being sued for $100 million by one of his former clients, and I bet more lawsuits are gonna follow as well. His reputation is completely destroyed on social media, and if he only has to settle for one or a few more lawsuits, then he's also gonna be bankrupt. So bad publicity is great for a short period of time until it comes back around to bite you in the ass. And then you can be in a world of hurt depending on how big your oopsie was. And I think this oopsie by HBO Max is a pretty big one. I mean, the show has a 1.3 out of 10 rating on IMDb. 27,000 people voted for that. Also, it has a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, and more than 5,000 people voted on that one. It does have a 57% score on Rotten Tomatoes by the critics. This is also a pretty bad score, but this one was only by 21 different critics, which is of course not a huge sample size either. And get this, HBO Max is blaming all of this hate and negativity that they're getting on the fact that they race swapped Velma. They are just playing the race card and completely hiding behind it with full force. They think that they're playing a freaking winged dragon of Ra from Yu-Gi-Oh! That this is their ultimate card to win the battle. So they're claiming that almost all of the backlash that they have received for this show is because they race swapped Velma to being Indian, which is in accordance with the race of the voice actor Mindy Kaling. But this does raise the question for me. Where on earth did they get this information from? How the fuck are they doing their research? Do they just write some random words on a piece of paper and then magically pluck some darts out of their ass and throw it at the paper to see what it says? Oh, let's see where the magic butt dart lands this time. Ah, the problem is with race. Everyone's problem is just with the race of Velma. Duh. That's not our fault, obviously, because the audience is just not as woke as we are. Pathetic little humans. Ha ha ha. And then they light their cigars and smell their own farts the entire night. In my own experience, basically no one really has a problem with the race of Velma. Besides the fact that it's just kind of unintuitive, you know. When I think of Velma, I don't necessarily think of an Indian woman per se. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's just the way we grew up to see Velma. So people definitely notice it. It might be something that people need to get used to, but it's not something that makes or breaks the show. What makes or breaks the show usually revolves around the following. Is it entertaining to watch, and are the characters relatable or at least a little bit likable as a minimum? And with both these aspects, the answer is a resounding no with Velma. I mean, this show is supposed to be a comedy, but none of the jokes land. They only have a few types of jokes that they use over and over again. It's either them just going meta, making some sort of woke remark, or making a remark about that Fred has a tiny penis. These jokes are overused and there's just something wrong with the way that they are presented. I mean, most of them don't even contain a punchline at all. That just makes the humor bad and the show not entertaining at all. And regarding the characters, they are just complete caricatures and they only bear a tiny resemblance to the characters that they once were. Only their negative, annoying sides are emphasized and no attention is given to the personality traits that made us like these characters back in the day. Shaggy used to be goofy and has a lot of banter with Scooby. Velma was nerdy, but this was also her strength. And of course she wasn't mean to everyone all the time. And sure, Fred was a bit snobby, but he was also a good leader. And they were always working together as a team to solve the mystery in the end, which gave us that warm, fuzzy feeling at the ending. But now there's no fuzzy feeling, only the feeling of annoyance for these characters who are trying to be woke the entire time and are too busy with that to just be funny. I don't even get the feeling that there's any reason at all for these people to be hanging out near each other. Really, the entire show makes no sense for me, and the entire show makes no sense in the Scooby-Doo universe, in my opinion, but whatever. So it's pretty likely that this show is gonna get a second season. It is not fully confirmed yet, but it is confirmed that they are working on it, or at least seriously thinking about making another season. And I think this is mostly due to all the hate watchers. I think because so many people hated it and wanted to see this train wreck, that drove up their ratings, and now the ratings are so high that they're seriously considering on making another season. Now, I personally don't even think it's a bad thing that we're temporarily filling up the pockets of HBO Max with all of these hate views. Let them make some more of this terrible stuff, and before you know it, their reputation is gonna be down the shitter. More so than condoms at a frat party. What goes up must come down, especially if the thing that went up wasn't a balloon, but a giant turd in the shape of a balloon. Anyways, thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you had a good time, and then I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!